1, 2. Right. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Hello. My name's Mike Naylor. That doesn't really matter. I'm here to try to ask some semi-intelligent questions of our wonderful guests.
Not too intelligent, I hope. Yeah.
Welcome to the Pioneer Club for our listening party to hear the newly remastered mono version of Odessey and Oracle that, as you know, originally came out in stereo in 1968. And we are in the Pioneer Club, not the original one, because the original one was in the town or in the city. But back in 1961, 5 schoolboys from St Albans and Hatfield rehearsed their new band for the very first time. And I'm absolutely delighted, therefore, that 64 years on, please really give a massive welcome to Colin, Bluntstone and Chris White. Just in case you don't know, and I'm sure you do, a quick potted history is that the Zombies built up a following playing live in youth clubs, working men's clubs and ballrooms. In the early days, they just got £6 a night, £5 between the band and £1 for transport. Buses home, I think it was. And then in 1964, they won the Hearts Beat Talent Contest, coming first out of 100 bands, which is really, really good. They won a prize of £250 and then signed to Decca Records. Their first single, written by Rod Argent, She's Not There, was a hit here at number 12 and number 1 in America. And they toured extensively as on package tours, as they were known in this country, and they did various big TV shows in America, and they toured with acts like the Isley Brothers, Benny King, Dionne Warwick, Patti LaBelle, the Shirelles, and the Shangri-Las, and many others. And their debut album came out in 1965, Being Here. But many managers and promoters thought that rock and roll was going to be only a short-lived craze, and so they extracted as much money as they could for themselves rather than their artists. So the Zombies played 10 nights in the Philippines in front of 40,000 people a night, but only got paid about 10 quid each a night. So they returned to England, to quote Chris from the recent Hung Up on a Dream documentary, with no money, no manager, and no record label. So it was against that background that their second album, Odessey and Oracle, emerged, recorded in 1967, mainly at Abbey Road in London, as well as Olympic Studios, and then released in 1968. So it's so great to talk about this. We're going to have a little chat now, and then we're going to play you through all 12 tracks with an interval after track number 6, which closed side 1. What was the morale in the band then when you got back from England at that time, before all the songs were written and recorded?
Well, I remember it as being quite good, really. I know that Rod has said on occasion that he wanted to get one album recorded and released, and I think probably Chris felt the same way, that sounded how we wanted it to sound, because Rod and Chris produced this album, Odessey and Oracle, whereas we'd always worked with a producer called Ken Jones, who we felt was always trying to re-establish the sound of She's Not There, always trying to get that sound again rather than moving on. So I felt, although the Philippines, we'd just come back from playing this huge Araneta Coliseum in Manila, as you rightly said, to huge audiences and of course making absolutely no money. It was a little bit heartbreaking, but it also had been a wonderful adventure. So I remember coming back and feeling not too despondent, really, when we went into the studio to record this album. CBS gave us £1,000, which even in those days was a very small amount of money to record an album. We managed to get into Abbey Road, and I've never understood how we did that, because they were EMI Studios at that time.
John Caroni fixed that up, our publishers. Yeah.
Our publisher, yeah.
And only having that budget gave you the opportunity to say, well, Chris and Rod, you'll produce it, because you couldn't afford to produce it.
The reason was we were never allowed to go to the mixing sessions before that. It was old school, basically. We went and did all the recordings, the overdubs and everything like that, but we weren't allowed to the mixing sessions. The old school idea was basically the groups would interfere with the sound, you know.
And sort of mixing sessions, to explain what that is, when all the recording's done, it's sort of like a sweetening process, you know, that, okay, we've got all the recording done, now how can we put any echoes and reverbs on here, and it can really change how the record sounds. We were never allowed to be in the room when the mixing process was going on, until Odessey and Oracle.
How confident were you, Chris, that you could co-produce with Rod together and get that sound that you wanted?
Well, we were the writers, and we knew what was wrong as far as we were concerned, but we thought we could do a better job than had been done already. And because I think the musicians and writers know more what it wants to sound like. Even Colin will agree, basically, it never sounded like us.
Because that first album had quite a few covers on, but some original songs as well. You were doing R&B covers and a Motown cover and so on and so forth. And then you had quite a few singles in the UK that sadly weren't into the top 40 to follow up from She's Not There. So you had sort of confidence that you could still write, and this was a big chance to sort of prove everybody wrong, was it?
No, just we want to hear our songs better as we heard them when we wrote them.
Okay. So tell us about how you started to write a song, and the songs came for this album. You wrote 7 of the 12, Rod the other 5, and
Yes.
you're a bass player, but you didn't write them on the bass.
No, you can't write a song on a bass.
Absolutely.
So it's either guitar or keyboard or piano, as simple as that.
And
Then we went to rehearse together.
yeah, but take me through the construction a bit more. I wanted to drill down into
Writing.
Yeah, did you write lyrics first, or the ideas for a song?
All together. I mean, it was tunes. The ideas for songs come from a rhythm, a chord, a word. You don't know what it. I wish I could know because I could market it all, but I don't know how it happens. It comes from out the sky somewhere, basically.
And did it take a long time for the good songs to come, or sometimes you work on them for days and days, or you get stuck, or do they come very quickly?
Well, either they do and they work immediately, or you have to really work at them. You get an idea, and then some little part, as McCartney used to say, you get an idea and a song, but something's not quite right. You put it in your fridge and go back to it later, and then you suddenly find a way to make it work.
And how do you write them down? Do you read music, or you just sort of note the chords?
Well, I write the chords down, and I can't remember whether I used a tape recorder or not, but I don't think they worked in those days.
Because then what I'm driving at is then how do you present it to the rest of the band, and obviously to Colin?
Well, we play it to the band, and they make their mind up whether they like it or not. Simple as that.
So
But Rod was the main leader of the thing, so you had to get the ideas past Rod, to be quite honest.
right, he would occasionally change a chord or two of yours, but
Oh yes, he would do that.
you wouldn't
yeah.
dare alter any of his stuff, I'm told.
Of course I would.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah. Come on, it's a game.
So you had, 12 songs which you then started to rehearse before you
No.
went to Abbey Road?
No, we didn't have 12 songs. Colin will remember better than me because my memory's going, but we used to have to go, we rehearsed in a little village hall the songs before we went into Abbey Road. We only had 3-hour sessions in Abbey Road, and so we had to be absolutely perfectly correct. We had to rehearse the songs through, go through all the routines before we went into the studio.
Where was that village, or that village hall? Any idea?
I booked it. I'll be honest. I was ringing around village halls. It's not very rock and roll, this, is it? But I was ringing around village halls, and I can't remember. It could be somewhere like Cuffley or somewhere like that. I remember there was a lady there who used to do sweeping and mopping and everything, and she was our audience for the whole time we were there, and she never said one thing. She used to stand there and watch us, and I was thinking, please say you like something, please.
I thought you liked my mother.
An audience of one's hard to play to.
But you also rehearsed in Rod's parents' house.
That was earlier. But if I could just go back to that in a minute, but it was so important for us to record extensively because we had such a small recording budget. We knew the songs we were going to record, we knew the keys, we knew the arrangements, we were just looking for a performance. And we recorded incredibly quickly because the money was going to run out. We knew that. Before that, we recorded in Rod's house, and famously he said that his poor neighbour was on nights, and we would be practicing in the afternoon, and he never ever complained. But apparently later on he had a very serious drink problem, and I think we might have been partly responsible for that.
So you rehearsed and you rehearsed and you rehearsed, and the
Song by song.
yeah, and the regime, as you say, in 3-hour blocks was quite strict. Was it men in white coats at the engineers around in Abbey Road at that time?
Yes, they all had their uniforms. The engineers who were working the recording board, they all wore collar and ties. It's only looking back I realized that they did. And then the technical support people all wore white coats. It was very regimented. And then there were these guys that used to move equipment around, and they could only wear brown coats. It was really funny. And you started at 10 and you went to a 1. You had to stop at 1. And then you went from 2 until 5, and then you had a break. And you went from 7 till 10, and particularly in Studio 3, because there was a block of flats right next door, and it wasn't very well soundproofed. You had to stop at 10 o'clock because they would complain about the noise. So it was a very strange atmosphere thinking back. Just very strict, very strict.
So you did a lot of these songs in, what, 3 or 4 takes?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
probably right, yeah.
And you played live. You didn't put down the backing track and the instruments and you sing over them.
No, we did, actually. If I could just say, this is all a long time ago.
Yeah.
So what we can't remember, we're making up. I hope that we sound convincing.
Who are you?
Yes. From memory, they did do the backing tracks.
I can remember it was basically, we were on 4-track, and it was bass, drums and guitar on 1 track, keyboards and keyboard things on the 2nd, Colin's vocal on the 3rd, and harmonies on the 4th. That was how we did it. It just in 4 tracks.
But when you got in there, you found
Yes.
there were a couple of extra instruments you didn't know were going to be there. Notably being used by the Beatles, who just finished recording
Sergeant Pepper.
Just a couple of days before. Unfortunately, we didn't meet them. So they mostly recorded in Studio 2. You may have seen pictures of that, where there's a famous sort of staircase, wooden staircase going up to the control room. This is their room. It's really bizarre, because if you want to check anything that you've played, you have to go up this great long staircase to get into the control room to see what it sounds like. But we were in Studio 3, which they did use from time to time. And when we went into the live room, there was the Mellotron that they'd just been using, which Rod jumped on. And if you listen to Odessey and Oracle, the Mellotron is all over it. And if they hadn't left that behind, it would have been a different album. And there were maracas and tambourines and things. And we were huge Beatles fans, and so to be picking up these instruments and knowing that they just used them before us, it was a real thrill, you know, and it was very energizing, because you realised you're in the big time.
Yeah, but I mean, having rehearsed so hard and then thinking you'd got the finished article in that village hall or two, you then had to make some modifications then when you had the Mellotron.
Well, the modifications were the Beatles knew that America had 8-track recording, and we didn't have it in England. And they asked the engineers they could work out a system where they could have more tracks. So the engineers had worked out that if they put 2 4-track machines together and link them up by sync track, you'd have another extra 3 tracks, because the other one you only had 3 tracks available, and that's the system they used.
And we did too. I mean, we benefited from that. So in fact, we were recording on 7 tracks, weren't we?
Yes.
So you
So
said
that
you
4,
didn't have
5, 6,
12
7.
songs. Did you write a couple of songs while you were in the studio?
No.
You
Well,
just went,
certainly Time of the Season was written very, very very late.
Okay.
It was the last song we recorded, and it was the last song that was written. And I think you might want to talk about it track by track.
We will,
but
yeah.
I mean, there's this story of Time of the Season was only finished in the morning, and I was struggling with the
we'll come on to
phrasing.
that when we
Okay.
get to it, shall we? Because it's a very interesting story. So I think it's time we played you track number 1, which is written by Rod Argent. Originally called, I think, Prison Song, but this is Care of Cell 44, yeah?
It was also called to start with, I don't listen. Anyone of a sensitive disposition, please don't listen to this. I swear to you, this song was called Care of 69, and it was altered to 44. So
And
not
it's
quite
written
sure why.
in the form of a letter from a lover to their partner, who's in prison, of course, anticipating a reunion. But the title was not in the lyrics, which is interesting. Let's hear Care of Cell 44.
Good morning to you, I hope you're feeling better, baby. Thinking of me while you are far away. Counting the days until they set you free again. Writing this letter, hoping you're okay. Saved you the room you used to stay in every Sunday. The one that is warmed by sunshine every day. And we'll get to know each other for a second time. And then you can tell me about your prison stay. It's gonna be good to have you back again with me. Watching the laughter play around your eyes. Come up and fetch you, saved up for the train fare money. Kiss and make up and it will be so nice. Boom, 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 boom. It's over, you're coming home soon. Walking away we used to walk, and it could be so nice. Talking away we used to talk, and it could be so nice. Come up and fetch you, saved up for the train fare money. Kiss and make up, and it will be so nice. Boom, 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 boom. It's so good you're coming home
It's got a great melody, it's got great harmonies, it's got great vocals, it's got an energy which builds when you come on with that sort of more powerful note, sort of a third of the way through, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I always thought that was the most commercial track on the album, and it was released as a single and died an unmitigating death. So I don't think I would have ever had a career as an A&R man in a record company. But I think it's a great song.
I do, yeah.
Rod wrote it. It's wonderful, the juxtaposition between the really rather sad lyric and the very jaunty melody. And I think that's really intriguing.
It's kind of a strange sort of idea for a song, or a theme for a song too.
It really is. I mean, I think it's unique. I think it's a great song.
I
love
really
it.
do as well.
Good idea from Rod. That was excellent.
Yeah, there's a little. I tell you what, between that and the, I know this. I've been tipped off, and I could hear it there. Between the mono and the stereo, there's a little edit in that. For some reason, I think they took half of the last verse out. So if you compare the mono with the stereo, you'll find that there's a little bit missing on this. And I can only presume that maybe the record company did that because records had to be short, singles had to be short in those days. And so I don't remember ever being asked about it, and I certainly didn't remember it.
Neither do I remember.
No, but there is a little edit there.
But this is the new remastered mono version.
Yes.
I wanted to be, without being too technical, could you explain why they wanted to put it in stereo and why you've gone back to mono now? Because everybody at the time would have thought that you get wider separation and the sound is better in stereo. That's not the case then.
Well, basically, they didn't have anything that in stereo things up till then. It was only classical records, and not many people had stereo record players. And they only had 4 tracks, so mono was the obvious choice. And then they suddenly said to us, you know, stereo's becoming commercial. Can you mix it in stereo? After we did it, and we didn't have more money left, so Rod and I had to pay for it ourselves.
Really?
So it was a very last-minute thing.
Yeah.
The stereo hadn't been mentioned until Rod and Chris presented the mono version of the album to CBS, and they said, yeah, this is great, but stereo is just starting now. We'd like it in stereo. And so, as Chris just said, they had to put the money up and try this new experience of stereo, which probably, if they'd had a bit more experience, if people knew more about stereo at that time, perhaps it could have been a bit more effective. But I think probably this album sounds better in mono, and it's certainly the way that it was mixed, and it was the way that we heard it.
And the remastering makes it what? Clearer and sharper?
It should make it sharper, yes, of course.
Yes.
Altering the bass and the treble.
You can do a lot more things nowadays with the mastering of it.
It was called chamber pop or psychedelic rock or baroque rock. I don't know whether those labels were around in 67, 68 and what they mean to you.
It was called a dismal failure as well. Because it was completely ignored by all reviewers, except for wonderful Penny Valentine in Disc. I remember she said it was really nice. And Kenny Everett, if you remember Kenny Everett, he loved it. But otherwise, it was totally ignored, this album. But it has been categorized as different kinds of music. But I think that with things like Baroque rock or whatever, I think people were quite influenced by the artwork of the sleeve.
Might have been, yeah. I think so,
It looks very
Psychedelic,
flower powery, you know. But I'm not sure that the music is... How we used to record an album was we got the best songs we could get and we recorded them to the best of our ability. We never followed trends, and that's it. It's very simple up to a point, but of course you've got to write the songs. But we weren't trying to make it any particular kind of music.
You'd heard Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys maybe from the year before, and some sort of Beach Boy type harmonies in that first track. That's not a criticism at all. But then, of course, Rod was a choir boy and he was great at harmonising with you, Colin, wasn't he?
Very good, yeah.
Yeah, it's harmonising with all of us. Apart from the fact keyboard players are usually good people to work out harmonies, but Rod was in the cathedral choir for a long time. He's a great harmony singer. And people could never work out our harmonies because most people will, one person will be singing the melody, one person will sing a third above and one person will sing a third below. But with us, we had slight harmony limitations, perhaps I should say, and that I hadn't got the slightest idea what I was doing. I mean, I ended up being the lead singer quite by chance. We might go down that avenue later on. So when we did a song, Rob would say, when we got to the chorus, which is where usually the block harmonies will come in, he would say to me, you sing what you think is the melody. And because I've got quite a high voice, I would often sing the top harmony. That's natural to me. We'd sing that a few times, so I've got it in my mind. And then he would try and get a fairly simple harmony for Chris, because Chris has got to play bass.
Because I'm thick.
No, because Chris has got to play bass and sing at the same time. So often your harmony would be close to one note, wouldn't it?
Bit more than that, Colin.
Oh, was it? Okay. it would be a relatively simple one.
Yeah, well, Rob chose the in between parts. And
then the thing is, because we'd done it like that, Rod would have this incredibly complicated harmony in the middle. And when people try to copy it, they can't work out what we're doing, because I'm singing the top harmony, Rod's going like that to fill out all the holes, and Chris is going like that.
a bit more than that, Colin.
Right. Even
I'm
more.
sorry, I don't want to upset you. Let's remember, this is a light-hearted romp. It's not. It's not.
Did Paul Atkinson do some backing vocals as
Only
well?
on one song.
Oh, we'll come to
Yeah.
that.
There
Changes.
was one
Yeah.
magnificent tune that
We'll come
all
to
of
that.
us, and Hugh Grant as well, sang.
Yeah, and also you were playing on bass a different melody from the main melody of that song, which has been likened to what McCartney did a lot of.
Yes.
Which is pretty high praise.
But in Rod's songs, he dictated what the bass was basically be, because it was his left hand of his keyboard, you see. So he was great help on his songs, especially working out the bass line, roughly the bass lines, the fills and everything, because he wrote it.
I mean, there's so many layers to that song and such a lot going on, as you've described so well. I'm wondering, when you first heard that in the village hall or at the rehearsal room, did you have to modify it quite a bit, or you built it up as you played it through several times, and you're thinking, oh, let's go in that direction, we can do that with that, and add that.
As far as I remember, Rod knew it from the beginning.
Did he?
And
Right.
told us.
Yeah, I think he got the musical picture of what was going to happen. With his songs, he knew he didn't just write the song; he knew the arrangement, and
That's amazing.
He introduced it to us, and we did it.
Okay, well, let's go on to track number 2, which is another Rod song, "A Rose for Emily." Very summery, but sort of melancholic, and I'm not sure that Emily got any roses in the end.
I
But
don't think she did, poor gal.
no, let's listen.
The summer is here at last. The sky is overcast, and no one brings a rose for Emily. She watches her flowers grow, while lovers come and go to give each other roses from her tree, but not a rose for Emily. Emily, can't you see there's nothing you can do? The sun is shining, there's loving everywhere, but none for you. Her roses are fading now. She keeps her pride somehow, that's all she has, protecting her from pain. And as the years go by, she will grow old and die. The roses in her garden fade away, not one left for her grave, not a rose for Emily. Emily, can't you see there's nothing you can do? How the sun is shining, there's loving everywhere, but none for you. Her roses are fading now. She keeps her pride somehow, that's all she has, protecting her from pain. And as the years go by, she will grow old and die. The roses in her garden fade away, not one left for her grave, not a rose for Emily.
I think that's so beautiful, really is. What can you tell us about Emily? Was that song based on somebody Rod had known or seen or observed?
No. I'm missing a vital link in this story, but hopefully someone will be able to help me from the audience. It always intrigues me, the story on this song, because Rod woke up one morning, and with the confidence of youth, he said, "I'm going to write a song this morning, And he walked downstairs in his parents' house, and he sat down on the piano, and he saw this book.
Can't remember who wrote it.
No, does anyone know who wrote A Rose for Emily?
That was the title of the book too.
I think it's a short story.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something. I asked this question to an audience the other night, and someone knew. Yeah. Okay.
Well done, sir.
Yeah, well done. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, so it's a very famous story written by a very famous author who none of us can actually remember.
Somebody Google it for us.
William Faulkner. Okay. Checks in the post to this lady at the front. And so that's what happened. He saw this title and he sat down and he wrote that song, just like that. And I think it's extraordinary that someone can do something like that.
Yeah. So then he would sing it to you, and you'd get
Yes.
the melody, and then he'd give you the words, and off you went.
Absolutely, yeah. That's how we did it. Yeah.
That must have not taken too long then to record that one.
I'm trying to remember. I think there's some high notes in it. No, it was fairly quick. But I seem to remember our drummer, Hugh Grundy. He was getting a bit impatient with me because it does sound very simple, but there's some quite high bits in it. And so I think I did it 3 or 4 times. And I remember him getting quite stroppy. And I thought, come on, calm down, mate.
We've only got 3 hours.
Yeah, yes, we've got 3 more songs to do. But no, it was fairly quick, yeah.
Okay, let's go on to number 3, and this is the first of your 7 compositions, Chris. Maybe After He's Gone. It's about longing that defies the odds. So it's, in a sense, it's a breakup song, and the person that's been dumped hoping that he gets back with her, yeah?
Yeah, I can't remember who it was.
All right. Was it autobiographical or just...
No. Ideas for songs come from a phrase or a word,
Yeah.
and then you just embellish it.
Maybe After He's Gone then, track 3. Lovely backing vote.
She told me she loved me with words as soft as morning rain, but the light that fell upon me turned to shadow when he came. Maybe after he's gone, she'll come back, love me again. Maybe after he's gone, she'll come back, want me again. I remember joy and pain, her smile, her tears are part of me. I feel I'll never breathe again. I feel life's gone from me. Maybe after he's gone, she'll come back, love me again. Maybe after he's gone, she'll come back, want me again. All the days and all the nights, a time just passing by, and all the dreams I'm dreaming now hide the tears that I cried. I feel so cold, I'm on my own as the night folds in around me. Night surrounds me, I'm alone. Maybe after he's gone, she'll come back, love me again. Maybe after he's gone, she'll come back, want me again. Maybe after he's gone, she'll come back, love me again. Maybe after he's gone, she'll come back, want me again. Maybe after he's gone, she'll come back, love me again. After he's gone, she'll come back, love me again.
Maybe After He's Gone. And that's the first time on the album, really, that we're hearing some lovely drum rolls and fills from Hugh, and the acoustic guitar, I'm assuming, from Paul.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
And your bass was prominent. And
It's a song basically about 20-year-old love lost, basically.
yeah,
You know.
but a real group sound there, and but again with
We were a real group.
yeah, peaks and troughs, and a bit of melancholy, bit of upbeatness to it.
Yes.
It's got everything in there. It seems to me.
Yes.
What do you think? Hearing it again, I know you've done a couple of these sessions or one other session like this before, but
Well, I've never talked about this song in particular like this way.
Let's do it then.
Yeah, it was just an early not teenager. I was in my beginning of 20s then, so basically love lost, and being romantic, and everybody was looking after girlfriends at the time, looking for girlfriends at the time.
But what soul in your voice, Colin? Don't you think?
Well, thank you. I think it's a very soulful song. It's a lovely song of Chris's. Listening to it there, I remembered we first played this album live. Because the band broke up before this album was ever released, we first played it live in 2008. And
40th anniversary.
40th anniversary, and we played it at Shepherd's Bush Empire. But before then, we played it at the Stables as a sort of
Preview gig.
yeah,
Warm up.
that sort of thing. I was just listening to it then, and I was having a little nervous breakdown because it's quite a tricky harmony bit at the end, and I went completely wrong at the Stables. I don't normally do this, absolutely, and it was really obvious. I couldn't cover it, and so that it flashed back to me in a moment of deep embarrassment as I listened to it just then.
Oh.
Everyone else was singing something else, and I was singing what people in the audience probably thought was a completely different song. And I was left, we used to call it glass trousers when I was younger. I was left on the stage singing something completely different. So that's what I was thinking about while I was listening
Very
to it.
candid.
But, yes,
Yeah.
I don't recommend glass trousers.
Did it take a long time to get right in the studio then, or not?
I don't think so.
I don't
None
think
of
it
these
did,
things did.
Because we had 3 hours. You don't forget to do
we
two
just,
songs at
we
least.
just bashed them
It's
out.
like when I get 3 minutes or 10 minutes with a guest.
Yeah.
He puts pressure on you to ask the
Yes.
important questions straight
Well, I
away.
think you do what you've got to do, don't
Yeah,
you, really?
yeah.
And I don't think it took a particularly long time. Again, we knew what we were going to do. We weren't making it up in the studio. It had to be made up earlier on, but in the studio, we knew what we were going to do.
Okay, let's move on to track number 4. And this is, again, your writing, Chris. It's called Beechwood Park. Of course, that's the name of a school near to the village of Markyate, just off the old A5 between Flamstead and Dunstable. And your parents owned the village stores in Markyate, didn't they?
That's right. And I used to help my dad deliver the groceries to this girls' school. I was still a young man.
Sounds
then,
like a
yeah.
good gig.
Yeah, private school, well educated, so well off
And it was
students.
I learnt to drive there as well because it was private roads, you see.
Right.
And basically, I thought it was a great atmosphere, and I taught my mother to drive. She had a license, but she couldn't drive because she got hers before you had to pass the test. So I took her up for driving, and the country lane. The whole idea of the place just came back to me for a song idea.
They're quite good grounds there.
Oh, they are,
wonderful
yeah.
greenery all around.
Absolutely.
And did you then sort of go up there, sort of walking and maybe getting exercise and maybe meeting some of the students?
Exercise?
Some of the students or not?
No,
It's just
no,
the delivery thing.
No, they weren't allowed. They were
Okay.
girls' school, private girls' school.
Right. And so
Brought borders as well, so they,
they weren't
Don't
allowed
go
to
anywhere
mix
near
with
them.
men or boys?
No, never. No, basically.
Okay, I went to an all-boys
Except
school.
when we did the song, one of the teachers came down and complained to my parents in the local shop saying, how dare he use the name of our school, Beechwood Park.
Right. But it's you sort of reflecting on summer days again.
Absolutely.
Okay, and growing up, obviously, as you say.
Absolutely. The romantic idea of Beechwood Park.
Let's hear it. Beechwood Park.
Do you remember summer days just after summer rain? When all the air was damp and warm in the green of country lanes, and the breeze would touch your hair
kiss your face and make you care about your world, your summer world. And we would count the evening stars as the day grew dark in Beechwood Park. Do you remember golden days and golden summer sun? The sound of laughter in our ears in the breeze as we would run. And the breeze would touch your hair, kiss your face and make you care about your world, your summer world. And we would count the evening stars as the day grew dark in Beechwood Park. Oh, roads in my mind, take me back in my mind. And I can't forget you, won't forget you, won't forget those days in Beechwood Park. And the breeze would touch your hair, kiss your face and make you care about your world, your summer world. And we would count the evening stars as the day grew dark in Beechwood Park. All roads in my mind take me back in my mind. And I can't forget you, won't forget you, won't forget those days and Beechwood Park.
Again, a song that is so different from the other previous three. Every song we've had so far, they all sound different, don't they? Which is important, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And intentional, of course, I imagine.
Well, I don't think there was any huge intention in the format of this album. I'm sorry I'm repeating myself, but I think we just recorded the best songs we've got to the best of our ability.
But again, you'd got the organ sound more prominent than...
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of Rod's real strong points is the Hammond organ. But if I could just say that Paul Weller has always been a great advocate of the Zombies, but in particular Odessey and Oracle, and famously, if he's talking to you and the subject of Odessey and Oracle comes up and you don't know the album, he will buy you a copy of it.
Where are you, Paul?
Yeah.
He came up when we first performed the album at Shepherd's Bush. He came along nearly every day. Well, the second day he sent a bottle of champagne instead because I think he'd been at it already. But he came up to me. I shyly introduced myself to Paul Weller, and he grabbed me in a bear hug and said, "Chris White, you're the reason I started writing songs. Beechwood Park started me off."
Wow.
And it's interesting because one of the last gigs the Zombies will have ever played, because we won't play again now, was at the Barbican. I think that actually there were 2 gigs after, but the Barbican was almost our last gig. It was a wonderful night, and we had these great guests performing with us, and one of them was Paul Weller, and he chose Beechwood Park, and he did a great job on it.
He sang it, did he?
He sang it, yeah. It was a real thrill to hear him sing that. Yeah.
But other great stars that have paid tribute to Odessey and Oracle, who've been influenced by it and who just love it: Dave Grohl of the Foo Fighters, Queen, Haim, Tom Petty, even Harry Styles, right? So it just brings you right into the 21st century, really.
Yeah.
Which is extraordinary, and well, what a great compliment from Paul Weller, eh?
Absolutely.
It's fantastic. I mean, there is a sort of I think, a mystery about this album, because it was never really a hit ever. Although it sells much more now, 60 years later, than it did at the time, which in itself is strange. But it's never really been high up in any charts. And yet there are so many people, high-profile artists, who named this album as a huge influence in their careers. And I'm not saying that as an ego thing for us. I mean, it just intrigues me. I just find there's a mystery about the Zombies in general, their career, I mean, and this album in particular.
It's funny because Dave Grohl, when we played in America going this album live, band was playing locally, and they said, "Oh, he's coming to see you," and he didn't come back afterwards. We thought we must have been crap, basically. But it turned out his wife met Rod later and with Dave Grohl, and he said he didn't come back because he was in tears 3 of the songs. So
Wow. Right.
it really influenced him, you know.
Did it sell more in America, though, at the time than here, too?
A little bit more, but remember that in America, Time of the Season was a #1 hit
69,
single,
yeah.
and Cashbox, I think it was about #3, and Billboard. Time of the Season was never a hit in this country. It's been issued 4 or 5 times. It's never been a hit.
It's a travesty.
But people know it because it's been in so many films and so many commercials.
Yeah.
And people tend to think that it was a hit because they're familiar with it, but it never was a hit.
We talked about other musicians who've paid tribute to the album, but also, you know, it's rated very highly in a lot of different polls for the most popular albums or best albums ever. So NME, Rolling Stone magazine, Mojo magazine, Q magazine. It's often in the top 50 of, you know, maybe the 200 or 500 greatest albums.
Absolutely. Rolling Stone definitely named it in the top 100 albums of all time, and it was never really a hit. And that doesn't make sense. You know, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of albums released every week. To think that this album has been named as one of the top albums of all time, and it was never a hit.
And basically, it didn't sell, first of all. That's why the Zombies split up, because Colin, you, and the others hadn't got any money.
No change there, then.
Which is really interestingly documented in the documentary Hung Up on a Dream. Have most of you seen that? Because it's an extraordinary film, and it's up for a Grammy in the Best Music Film category, actually, isn't it? And if you've not seen it or you want to see it again, I think it's on Amazon Prime, and I'll give another plug for that later. I watched it again today for about the 4th time. It's an incredible film, it really is, about 1 hour and 28 minutes, I think. And obviously, Chris and Colin and Hugh and Rod are in it, but there's some wonderful archive from those early days. If you want to, you know, realise what it was like touring and being in a band in the 60s, and what TV was like and what the fashions were like, this is the perfect documentary, really, I think.
It's very interesting because one of the scenes where we're playing live, no sound, it was just my dad taking film at my 21st birthday party. And so that was just taken by his movie camera, no sound at all. So seeing that again was quite weird.
I bet. And also when George Harrison reviewed She's Not There on Jukebox Jury.
Yes.
And when you did this interview with Kenny Everett, as you said earlier, I think, about this particular album. I just love those, the lyrics in Beechwood Park as well. We count the evening stars, golden days and golden summer sun. I mean, you know, this was in 1967. I can't remember what the weather was like, but...
That's being young and romantic. That's what starts it.
Yeah, I get that. I was almost a teenager, but not quite. So track number 5, another one of yours, Chris. So that's 3 in a row here on side 1. And this is called Brief Candles. Again, flickering memories, but you're holding those memories. It's very poetic, the lyrics in there.
Well, I got the title from a book. I can't remember who wrote that, Brief Candles. But I thought, like Rod picks up a title, you when you write a song, things start you off a phrase, or even an advert on television, a phrase helps you start to come with an idea for a song. So Brief Candles was basically the idea that there's people in the bar, and it's a famous American painting where they're in the bar and no one's ever talking, you're looking in the window, and they look very lonely and everything. So that's the expression that came, that's the idea that came to me then.
Great notion. Let's hear the song Brief Candles.
There she sits, her hands are held tight around her glass. She only needs to be alone. She knows this mood will pass. To realize that she was strong and he too weak to stay. And to realize that she is better off this way. Breathe candles in her mind, bright and tiny gems of memory. Breathe candles burn so fine, leaves a light inside where she can see what makes it all worthwhile. Her sadness makes her smile. His alone girl fades away, left out on a limb. Finds he needs her more because she's no more need for him. He understood so very well the things she had to say. Soon he'll understand that he is better off this way. Breathe candles in his mind, bright and tiny gems of memory. Breathe candles burn so fine, leaves a light inside where he can see what makes it all worthwhile. His sadness makes him smile. In the corner, see his face. A man just sips his drink. Not one feeling does he show, far too numb to think. He does not say a single word, no word of love to say. Maybe he will soon believe he's better off this way. Breathe candles in his mind, bright and tiny gems of memory. Breathe candles burn so fine, leaves a light inside where he can see what makes it all worthwhile. His sadness makes him smile.
A song where there are three verses. Rod sings the first, me the second, Colin the third.
Yeah, lovely. Is that how you, when you were writing it, could have heard it in your head?
What? Three of us singing
Three
it?
vocalists, yeah.
No, when we rehearsed it, we worked. Rod worked it all out. Basically, best way to do it.
I heard She's Leaving Home by the Beatles from Sgt. Pepper when that was on. Not that you'd heard that because it hadn't come out.
No.
And then maybe an intro to a Barry Manilow song. So who knows who else has been listening to Breathe Candles to inspire them.
In fact, the first time we rehearsed the first playthrough when we ever did it, when we did those first 3 gigs to play it in, the drummer, Hugh, missed the third harmony part, didn't he? He didn't count it in. You saved it today by coming in with the third verse without the middle in.
Oh, right, yeah. That's it. I mean, this is playing live.
Yeah, live.
I
Yeah.
think that's one of the joys of playing live is you never quite know what's going to happen. You've got to be on your toes. You really have. And possibly the lead singer at the front, he's got to make these decisions. If something goes wrong, he's got to work out, is he going to go with them, or are you going to plow on regardless and do the right thing and hope that they follow you? So you have to make a sort of split-second decisions, and it's quite interesting, really.
I said to you, whatever happened to the middle eight? When we came off stage, he said, what middle eight?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He'd just forgotten, you know. He gave up drinking after that.
Actually, it's a good point. I was going to say that I always I enjoyed the festive part of concerts, and I used to. It was party night every night, you know. And I remember Rod saying to me once, Steve Rodford, the drummer in the second incarnation of the band, and I, around 6 o'clock, we would say, I think the sun's going over the yard arm. I think you're right. And we'd have a drink. And then about 7 o'clock, we'd have another one. 8 o'clock. This is not fast drinking, but if you don't go on till 10 or 11 o'clock at night, everything, you're just starting to get a bit tiddled. And I always liked to have a couple of beers while I was on stage. And then you want a couple of looseners when you come off. And Rod said, have you counted how many beers you're drinking in an evening? And I never was very good at counting, so it was a bit of a wasted argument, really, a discussion. But I took his point that probably between us, some of the guys in the band and me were probably drinking 10 or 11 pints in an evening.
God, about like the Faces and Rod.
Absolutely. And you can't make snap decisions like that. If you just, someone goes wrong, I just think it's funny. I just start laughing. I've had a couple of beers. And so, as Chris said, I actually did give up alcohol. And there is a life without alcohol.
I was going to say, what do you drink on stage now?
Water.
Yeah. I think it might have been billed as the acoustic Zombies at St Albans Cathedral in 2016 when you had in part 2 a string quartet.
Yes.
And I saw you afterwards, and I think, as had happened in the rehearsal, the members of the string quartet either moved the microphones near their instruments or something, and so that affected what you were hearing in your earphones.
Yes.
You had to just obviously carry on.
I had to just plough through it. They were wonderful players, and I have a feeling the instruments were very expensive, and so they had little mics on the instruments. They're not used to that because they're classical players, and they went off to have a cup of tea or whatever before the show, and I think they put the instruments in the cases, and they took the mics off. And then they put the mic.
Put them back on.
Well, they put them on, but not in the right place.
Yeah, so the levels were all over the shop.
Yeah. They were all over the shop. And one of them actually dropped off during the performance. So I was actually hearing when that
Player or the microphone?
no, could have been either. But when the microphone dropped off, it was actually making a noise like a motorbike in my ears. And I thought, can the audience hear this? This is where you have to bluff. Yeah. Can they hear what I'm hearing? Because this is absolutely dreadful. And we got through it.
I thought it was good. I was in the audience.
Yeah, I was. I thought it was good. But you're right. I don't think we heard any of that.
It was a challenge.
Yeah.
It was fine with just Rod and me. Oh, and poor old Rod, he went up to the organ loft and he played the beginning of an Argent song. It's very dramatic on that great big organ because no one could see him. And then we had to wait for him to run down. And everybody thought it had been mimed. But he'd played on the organ's worth millions, but they let him play it. And then he had to run down and start the show. But it was great up until the players had moved their mics.
Is that the worst thing that's happened to you on stage, would you say?
Oh, there have been so many.
Really?
There have been so many. I remember playing after Tom Jones. We followed Tom Jones in the Glen Ballrooms in Llanelli. And it was... It was really funny. It was absolutely packed. They'd all come to see Tom. Of course they had. And we had to follow him. We knew we were going to get killed. We knew it was going to be tough. So Rod and I went down to the pub. This is when I was drinking. Just to take a bit of the edge off the evening. Probably had a quick 4 or 5 pints and came back feeling quite fresh. And it was a revolving stage. By now, Tom had played and he'd gone. We're on this revolving stage and it's gradually going around. And I was like, I thought they were going to throw things at us. I really did. And I was like this going around on the mic. But what had happened is everyone had gone home.
Oh, no.
I was all covered up like this on the revolving stage. And there was no one there. There were 2 people and a big black dog. And I swear the big black dog didn't pay. So we had to play our whole set to no one. But it was better than, I thought there were going to be beer cans and things. Yeah. But, there's so many things go wrong. Listen, we've only got one evening. If I started telling the stories about what went wrong,
Okay, all right. That really surprises me because when we did a similar thing after the documentary at the Odessey in June, I said something that, you're the front man. If something goes wrong, you've got to cover up. And you said,
of
yeah,
course.
I've got ways of doing that. It was, and you
Well,
brushed
I was
it
only
aside.
young then. I was only young then,
right.
and I was scared.
Yeah, okay.
But
now, nothing like that would happen.
I'd still be scared.
Yeah?
I'd be scared. I told this story the other day. I was did a lot of interviews on Saturday, and I had to talk about important songs, and I got the opportunity to sing "God Only Knows" with Brian Wilson. Now, obviously, Brian Wilson wrote "God Only Knows." It's one of the most beautiful songs that's ever been written, and I had to walk on stage at the Greek Theatre in Los Angeles, sold out. There's 7,500 people. He's got a wonderful band. They do all the harmonies. And I had to walk out onto that stage knowing I've got to sing one of the most beautiful songs ever written, and standing right next to Brian Wilson at the piano while I'm doing it. And it was an interesting, challenging moment. All I was thinking was, get that first note. Amen, amen. You've got to get that first note. That's all I was thinking of. I walked up to the mic stand in front of 7,500 people. And when I got close, I realized there wasn't a mic on the mic stand. That was one of the most scary moments in my life.
What did you do?
Not very much. I think I was transfixed, but I tried to look confident. And it felt like 2 or 3 minutes before anybody did anything, but it was probably about 20 seconds. And someone rushed on and banged a mic in there, and then we were off. But it wasn't a very auspicious start to singing one of the most beautiful songs that's ever been
Not
written.
only that, didn't they? Brian, he works purely off the screen.
Yes.
And basically, they hadn't told him that Colin was singing. So he was singing alongside Colin as well. Colin looked around in puzzle and went, this was the first time we did it. Yeah, and then you did it without him before.
He follows the screen, I can't think what you
Auto-cue
call it.
type thing.
Auto cue, yeah. And if it comes up on the auto cue, he does it.
Yeah.
And so that was a bit of a shock.
Yeah.
By the time I started, he joined in. I thought, hey, oi, mate, just because you wrote it, you're not supposed to be singing it.
Were you harmonising with him?
No.
Or he was
It was a bit of a struggle, to be honest, but I don't want to speak,
Ill.
ill, but it was a little bit of a struggle.
Well, earlier this year, I went to see China Crisis at the Stables, where you've played many times, and they come on and are going to play the whole of Flaunt the Imperfection album, 40th anniversary. And Gary Daly's quite a comedian, being from Liverpool and that. And the first thing he says, I wanted a radio mic. You've got a mic with a wire on it. So we're waiting 10 minutes while he makes some comments and brings the old poor sound guy down from the control box, which is right at the top, to change the microphone. And I'm thinking, couldn't you have worked that out, in the sound check or something? Anyway, we're digressing. But what a good, interesting story about Brian Wilson. Because didn't you tour with the Beach Boys in America at that time?
Oh, well, the original band toured with the Beach Boys, and then the second incarnation of the band, we toured with the Brian Wilson band.
Yeah.
And they were absolutely fabulous.
About 14-piece band, as I recall.
It's a big band, yeah, it certainly is, yeah.
Okay, well, let's go on to track number 6. This is the last one on side 1, and then we'll have an interval, maybe 10, 15 minutes, give you a chance to maybe buy a copy on vinyl, lilac vinyl, of the newly remastered mono version of this great album, Odessey and Oracle. Only came out last Friday, September 26, with brand new sleeve notes as well, which I haven't had time to read, but look very extensive and I'm sure very informative. And also on CD. So come and see Eddie from Empire Records in St Albans, and he will do the business with you. He's got a big box of stuff. And track 6 is written by Rod. It's the last one, as I say, on side 1. It really is reflecting the hippie era, if you like, of flower power and the dreamy sounds of the Summer of Love in 1967, I think. And this is called Hung Up on a Dream.
Just drifting slowly through a crowded street, with neon darkness shimmering through the haze, a sea of faces rippling in the heat, and from that nameless changing crowd vibrations seemed to fill the air. I stood astounded, staring hard at men with flowers resting in their hair. A sweet confusion filled my mind until I woke up only finding everything was just a dream. A dream unusual of its kind that gave me peace and blew my mind, and now I'm hung up on a dream. They spoke with soft persuading words about a living creed of gentle love, and turned me on to sounds unheard, and showed me strangest clouded sights which gently touched my aching mind and soothed the wanderings of my troubled brain. Sometimes I think I'll never find such purity and peace of mind again.
Happening on that, lovely mellotron, bringing the sort of the dreamy, summery sound of '67, I think, perfectly, and a lead guitar break from Paul Atkinson, eh?
Yeah, and it was the summer of love, and we all felt there was a little bit of hope of love in the world. Basically, at that time, it all degenerated into drugs and all sorts of weird things going on. But basically, at that time, we felt the atmosphere of it. Of course, it didn't last that long.
No, but that's the song that gives the title to the documentary, Hung Up on a Dream.
Yes.
In fact, I think you sung that just accompanied by Rod at the start of the documentary, didn't you, I think?
No, it was something else,
Something
actually.
else,
It's
was
The
it?
Way I Feel Inside, wasn't it?
Ah, right.
When they were shooting the documentary, it was very early on, and we were in New York, and we just followed the crew wherever they were going, and they went into this big church, like a cathedral, you know, and no one had said anything to us. I thought we'd gone for a blessing on the documentary. I'd got no idea why we were there. And then he said, oh, go up in the organ loft and sing The Way I Feel Inside. And that's how the film starts.
And you just had to do it on the spot, really?
Absolutely.
No rehearsing?
No rehearsing.
I
I'd
didn't
got no
realise.
idea
It
what
was
was...
very natural and looks brilliant. So it was spontaneous.
Yes, it was spontaneous. Yeah, it was interesting because I didn't know what was going on, to be honest. But I think it's quite an effective start.
Oh,
for the
definitely,
documentary,
yes. Yeah. I wanted just to again recommend this documentary because there's loads in it. Before this break, then, it came out in '68, the album, after, as you said, Split Up, which we might go into if there's time. But was the release date always going to be the following year? I mean, was there a chance that it could have been pressed and released quicker, and that might have prevented you from having to split? Or can't you remember?
Can't remember that, basically.
No, I don't know, to be absolutely honest. I think when that first single was released, Care of Self 44, and it wasn't a hit, I think everyone felt, there wasn't, there were no huge arguments. We just felt, maybe it's time we moved on and tried something else. I think there was a general feeling like that.
Well, Paul was going to get married, and
Well, Paul, he'd got married and he hadn't got any money.
That's right.
And he'd been offered a job in computers.
That's
And
right,
that was
yeah.
the first thing, wasn't it? And,
Hugh was a taxi driver, wasn't he, briefly? Hugh?
Hugh, yeah.
Yes, and he sold cars as well, I think.
Yeah.
And you sold insurance, didn't you?
Well, I didn't know anything about insurance, so I couldn't really sell it. But I took the first job I was offered, and it was just lifting the phone like this all the time, answering questions about insurance, of which I know nothing. And I think that this the one thing it really teaches you in the music business is how to bluff, because you get caught in so many strange situations. I just bluffed it. I didn't know anything about insurance. But yeah, I did that for nearly a year.
And Chris, you as one of the writers had slightly more money, I believe, along with Rod. But for the 2 or 3 years before you launched into Argent and set up the company together to be songwriting credits as two persons, what were you doing? Were you going back to doing? You wanted to teach art and design, I think.
Well, I was going to be an art teacher, yes.
Yeah.
But basically, so Rod and I enjoyed producing the album, but then he said, why don't we form a production company? And we went to CBS in New York, and they said, yeah. So we got a deal where we signed up and discovered new people singing, you know.
Okay. Right, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for, as I say, for being here. Was that okay? Enjoy that? I thought it was fascinating, really good. We'll come back in 10, 15 minutes for tracks 7 to 12. Thank you.